All right, welcome to another episode of Street Smart Self Defense. We have a special guest here today, Gabe Helmick, and today we're going to be talking about the ground fight and everything that goes on physically and mentally in that fight. And Gabe has been a martial artist for many years. He owns his own mixed martial arts studio. Gabe, can you talk a little bit about your studio and your martial arts experience?
Absolutely. So I've been training for I think about 17 years professionally. I've been doing mixed martial arts. I have two black belts, first degree black belts, one in fusion mixed martial arts, and then another one in Brazilian Jiu Jitsu. I kind of made the switch uh, 7 or 8 years ago and kind of went more headfirst into Brazilian Jiu Jitsu.
Mm-hmm.
But I've been teaching for I think like 17 years and been running many gyms, and I have my own gym in Spring Green now. So
All right. And I first met you when you were going to Infusion.
yeah,
That was
in
at
Mount
Mount
Horeb.
Horeb,
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
Yeah.
that's when I first started a long time ago. Yeah,
It's been a few years.
yeah, man.
And I train at your gym too. It's a great gym, and there's a lot of different opportunities there for striking classes,
Yep,
jujitsu, whatnot. So,
yep. And trying to keep growing. Right now, we do a good job, and I'm looking to always keep expanding and keep adding, helping people out. So yeah.
all right. Well, let's talk about the ground fight here in regards to self-defense. And do you think people who've never been trained underestimate how hard it is to fight from the ground, or maybe they don't realize the danger that are in a ground fight in the street?
Absolutely. I think especially I think untrained people. Um, the typical like male ego and I think action movies and growing
Hmm.
up watching action movies and I would just do this. I would just punch him in the face. Like why would you do that?
Just think about it in their head.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and like I would do that and like especially non-martial arts,
Hmm.
taekwondo or karate.
Hmm.
Oh, I would just do this and especially and then once we get to the ground, it's I would just do this. I would just do this and it's funny to me seeing untrained people and having that attitude and when they do experience that
Hmm.
in a safe way, right?
Hmm.
Like coming into a gym and stuff, thinking that they know what they would do and having their teammates basically toy with them and they have no idea and that
Hmm.
what they would do
Hmm.
in that oh my god moment
Hmm.
of I need to figure this. I need to do this. I need to learn, groundwork. I need to learn
Hmm.
grappling.
Hmm. Hmm.
Is really eye opening. So,
Hmm. And when I started teaching ground fighting for law enforcement back in the day, no one else was really teaching it
hmm
much. I mean, there was some, but not a whole lot. And what I remember teaching was a lot of panicking when they're on
yeah,
the ground.
yeah,
Somebody's on top of you, you can't
yeah.
breathe, or somebody's raining down strikes on you. And if it's somebody like a bigger guy, a lot of times they just try to bench press
Yeah,
them off
for
you.
sure.
Yeah, strength is going to help, but it's not going to be everything. It's your hips.
I think like going off that too, like even striking styles and standing up is if people with no experience, like we have that like panic. But like you said, I think it's magnified even more
Hmm.
when we get into those positions where you're stuck
Hmm.
and then you
Hmm.
panic like oh my god I can't move, I can't do anything.
Hmm.
And that's why I think a lot of times jujitsu, like one of the life skills I feel like it builds is just being calm under pressure. Because
Hmm.
if you
Hmm.
we go to class and we kind of play fight and we do these
Hmm.
things and we're uncomfortable, but are you in danger? That's one of the big things I say a lot in classes, like danger versus discomfort. Are you uncomfortable? All right, let's figure out how to get through it. Or are you
Yeah.
in danger? Okay, now you need to tap out or do what you need to do. But that calm under pressure that goes into like outside the gym and
Hmm.
things you do in your job and
Hmm.
workplace. Like if you can just, all right, this is uncomfortable, but I'm gonna deal with it. So
Hmm. And it's in a street fight, it's especially dangerous because if you pass out or get knocked
mm,
out, I mean, the fight's not over. You might
right,
still
absolutely,
somebody still might be beating on
right,
you while you're unconscious. So
right.
it's very dangerous. Um, so if someone does get knocked to the ground in a self-defense situation, what are some basic concepts to remember if you hit the ground during a fight?
Well, I think a lot. Um, if I had to boil down to like a few takeaways, I would say one of the biggest ones is probably distance management. Um,
Okay.
we talk about techniques and this and that, but I like to break things into more concept-based things, so we don't have to remember. But a lot of things in general, one of the things, once again, I say when I'm instructing is if we're in a dominant position, I'm trying to take away space. I'm trying to eat up all the space around you, so you're stuck. You get in that panic mode, and then we make mistakes. And vice versa. If I'm in a bad position, I'm on the bottom. I need to create space. How can I create space to keep myself safe? Keep my hands up by my head. You know what I mean, and get my legs back in between you and the other person.
Okay.
So I think distance management is probably the first thing I'd say. But then remaining calm, staying composed is a big part of it. Center line control, and that's not exclusive to the ground
Let's talk
either.
about that a little bit because you use that concept a lot when you
Yeah,
teach. I think it's
yeah.
great. What exactly is the center line
So I think,
control?
and center line control is not exclusive to jujitsu, and that's why I kind of geek out about a lot of different doing mixed martial arts, like finding similar veins through different martial arts. So I mean, even boxing or taekwondo, and like we're trying to control that center line, or clinch work. So even same similar things on the ground, trying to control the center line. So whether I'm in guard, I'm trying to control the center line. I'm trying to break their posture down. Vice versa. If I'm stuck in someone's guard, I'm trying to pin their hips to the ground. I want my hands on the inside, closer to the center line, so I can start breaking guards and start backing myself out. Mount positions and back mount, I'm trying to control. I want to be on the inside of their limbs, so their limbs are isolated on the outside. So when I'm attacking arms or more available attacks for chokes and things like that. So I think that center line control, and then also defensively, like my hands are closer to the center line if they're trying to ground and pound and things like that. Like I want to be defensive as well. So I always think about trying to be inside, whether I'm standing up, or we're doing striking, or we're doing judo, or we're doing takedowns, or we're already on the ground and we're doing grappling. I'm always thinking about trying to control that center line and where my limbs are in relation to where their limbs are. But,
What I noticed was once your hips are pinned to the ground, that
yeah.
then you've got more limited movement. That's why you gotta, like, if you're trying to get somebody off you, all your power is coming from your hips,
Right.
and you got to use your hips to
I
try to.
think that's a guard. I'll try to keep this short, but I think guard is becoming more misunderstood, and because as we get into more sport jujitsu, we do all we joke about people butt scooting around in tournaments and stuff like that, and all these jujitsu guys. But guard, I feel like is becoming more misunderstood. Like using our legs for distance management. I'm eating up space, or I'm keeping you away from me, is a big part of it, and we should be punch proofing our positions. If you have someone in your guard and they're able to punch you and hit you effectively, you don't have a good guard. You might be doing all the sport stuff and be good, but if you cannot defend yourself from closed guard, your guard is terrible. You need to practice that. So
Sure, sure. All right. What kind of mistakes have you seen your students make when they first start training in jiu-jitsu or just, ground fighting in general?
I think probably the first one that comes to mind, and this is probably applicable in many different things, but we try to like remember moves or do techniques, or I'm gonna do I practice that arm bar. I'm gonna do this, and if we have to remember things that way, there's so many different ways to do things. Doing things concept based, like I gotta get this arm across center line. I don't care how you do it. You can grab their wrist, grab their collar, grab their sleeve, just get their arm across.
Sure.
So kind of breaking down things in benchmarks. I think that's kind of a big one. New students, I want to do it right. This is how the coach showed me, or this is how they showed me. But there's different ways to do that. So instead of trying to memorize things, experiment. Like add some more resistance. See if you can get it a different way. Can you do the same concept but in a different way? And then a lot of times, probably another big one is we almost we jump too far head first. And I see a lot of, especially nowadays, technology, and they're watching YouTube and they're watching Instagram, and hey, I saw this move and I saw that move, and they're trying to add all, I want to get good at this thing, so they almost jump in too far, and then once again, then they're trying to remember a million different things instead of like let's get good at the basics, right?
Overthinking
Right, and then they get
too
into this
much. Yeah.
mode of like collecting, right?
Hmm.
And like, now like I do way less now than I ever did. As a purple belt, I probably knew more and did more, and now as a black belt, like I'm super lazy. I do like, one or two things effectively, and that's what I want to do. Like I don't want to remember a million different things.
Sure.
So,
Sure.
but it's exciting. So it's kind of a double-edged sword because people get into it and they want to, learn different things. But I think you got to be careful about how much you're taking in and where you're taking it in from.
Yeah.
There's a lot of good
Yeah.
instructionals out, but you got to be kind of picky and choosy about who you're listening to because they might give you bad advice. So,
When you've got a new student and you're watching them roll for the first time, or maybe rolling
yeah,
with them,
right.
what are some of the mistakes that you see them make that you know that could be corrected, or it's just because they're inexperienced?
I think that positional, like knowing when you're in a good position, knowing when you're in a bad position, and we kind
Okay.
of some of that's intuitive a little bit, especially people, if you watch MMA, you watch mixed martial arts or UFC and things like that. Some people kind of, oh, this makes sense.
Hmm.
But
Hmm.
people trying to attack from inferior positions, you're just generally giving the other person access to your arms or neck or whatever. So trying attacking from inferior positions is a big one.
Hmm.
Um, uh, Not framing and using that distance management that we
Hmm.
talked about before, like not using that in the right way or sticking your arms where they're not supposed to be because yeah, I'm supposed to make space. I'm supposed to make space, but
Hmm.
there's
Hmm.
certain ways to do
Hmm.
that. Like a good example is like somebody's on top of you in mount position. The bottom person, like you said, like they might be big and strong, and they try to throw them off. They reach up and try to push them off.
Hmm. Hmm.
That's exactly what I want you to do. I want you to reach up and try to push me off because we got arm bars all day long for that. So
Hmm. Hmm.
that's a really common one as well. Um, but I think a lot of that starts to come as once again, the more experience and exposure you get to it, because we get that we get that freak out, right? And then they're
Hmm.
making
Hmm.
mistakes. So
Hmm.
once they learn to relax, like, are you in danger? Or are you just uncomfortable? Okay, keep your arms in,
That's a good
and then
point.
we kind
That's a
of
good point.
they kind of start to learn that. So, but I think just kind of flailing around and not really knowing like
Hmm.
if they're in
Hmm.
danger or not.
Hmm.
But it's kind of a learning curve in the beginning, especially with jujitsu. It's don't put your hand there, don't put your leg there, don't do this, don't do
Hmm.
that.
Hmm.
So, but
So from more of a mixed martial arts perspective, and actually getting into more self-defense, if somebody gets you on the ground in the street, they're probably going to try to ground and
right,
pound you.
right.
What are some things to remember if you end up in that position, that unfortunate
Yeah,
position where
right.
someone's starting to ground
Yeah,
and pound you? What are
you
some things
already
to
messed
remember?
up if you're already there. So,
That's true. That is true.
situational awareness first. No, if you're already there, going back to that distance management and making sure that we're keeping, for example, like I'm gonna keep my hands up. I want my head protected. Is kind of the first thing that I start
Hmm.
thinking about.
Hmm.
But then trying to either create space so I can, obviously it kind of depends on positioning, but I'm either trying to create space so I can get up and out of that situation, or if they're like on top of me, can I improve my position? Can I get to a closed guard where I take away their space?
Hmm.
So
Okay.
now instead of them punching me here, I take away that space. So now they're trying
Bringing
to
them in
like,
close. Okay.
right?
Yep. Yep.
A
That
lot of
makes
times
sense.
with
Sure.
this may or may not make sense, but a lot of times when we talk about striking, a really good visual is the more joints in the chain, the more like damage we can do.
Hmm.
So like
Hmm.
as an example, like if I'm rotating my hips, my shoulder, my elbow, my fist, like
Hmm.
I'm going to get a pretty decent hit. If I am taken out at the shoulder and I'm just using my elbow and my fist, I can only hit so
Hmm.
hard.
Okay.
So a lot of times
Okay.
with that distance, I'm like keeping things close. So then all of a sudden they're just like, it's still going to be
Sure.
annoying. You're still
Sure.
getting hit, but it's way different than taking a good cross to the face and you're knocked out all of a sudden. So
Yeah.
that distance management, eating up space, and closing distance or making space when you have an opportunity to get up and get the heck out of there is kind
Hmm.
of a big one
Hmm.
too. I think a lot of times once again we get too far ahead of ourselves and people, doing this, I'm going to do this fancy move and invert and do this crazy sweep to a back take and then armbar the
Hmm.
person. And I'm like,
Hmm.
no, I'm just going to try to get the hell out of there. Like I just want to get up and out. So we kind of overdo and overthink. So
All right. So from the students in your class, what do you see as the most successful students? What qualities do you see for students that are really starting to succeed and really starting to catch on?
So one of the things that I find super helpful and that helped me and that I kind of rant and rave, and I'm sure you've heard me talk about in class, is have an objective. Of objective-based training. I did this actually experimented on a bunch of guys a couple 4 or 5 years ago, and there was like 3 or 4 guys that I would every class they came, right, we do our techniques and everything like normal, and then came time to spar, and I was like, hey, I want you to hit this sweep. I want you to do this sweep. I don't care about you get submitted, they get submitted. I don't care about any of that. If you hit the sweep, that's a win for you. And then we did that for months, months and months. And the guys I had do that, and I was doing that myself, improved vastly compared to everybody else because we're being specific about what we're trying to do and the time that we're given it. And so a lot of times, we get into, all right, we drill this. Okay, cool. We do that. And now it's time to spar. All right, find a partner. And then you're beating me up and I'm beating you up. And like whoever wins, wins. Okay, I'm getting better. Cool, because I beat you. Instead of, okay, if I'm good at that one thing, I'm not going to do that today, right? I'm going to do the thing I'm bad at because we're training partners.
That makes sense.
So instead
That
of me
makes
trying
sense.
to win practice, like I'm going to put myself in do something I'm bad at. I'm really bad at that sweep, man. So if I hit that sweep today, that's a win. That's what I'm going to try to do because we're all getting better together. We're training. It's not like a tournament. I'm not going to get a medal for winning class. Who cares?
Right.
So I think putting that ego aside and training and practicing on those things that you either want to improve on, or maybe you're learning something new and you're like, I'm really going to try to figure this thing out. Like I have guys that are, they're doing this specific back take. They've been doing it for 3 months. There's a whole series from Guard that I remember when I first started doing this. This overwrap series from Guard, and I was like, that looks really cool. And I got into that, and I did that for like 2 years. That's like all I did. I lived in the Guard, and I did this whole overwrap series, and I got one thing down, and then once I got the armbar down, I was like, oh, I can sweep off of this too. Oh, and then oh my gosh, I can choke off of this too. So now I have a whole series from there that like I said, that I don't do a whole lot of other things because I've got really good at that one thing.
Right.
And now you can kind of put that on the back burner and like, all right, now now let's work on the top position now because I got
Sure.
it down. So I think people that really want to get good, you have to set the ego aside and do the things you're bad at and do them repeatedly on different people. I'm going to do that on the new guy. I'm going to do that on the really huge strong guy. I'm going to do that on the super flexible guy or the guy that's a black belt or the brown belt. I want to see if I can do it on everybody instead of just fighting each other in practice.
Yeah.
I think that's probably the number one thing I see. Like when you're rolling, have a goal, have an objective.
I think I learned that the hard way as I was going through, doing different, jiu-jitsu classes
Right.
and such, because I relied a lot on my strength when I was younger.
Yeah.
Well, once I got into
Yeah.
my mid 40s,
Yeah.
late 40s,
Well,
and now I'm well into my 50s, I definitely had to change because, as you just said, I need to practice these different moves. I need to be more mobile. I need to do different things and just rely on my strength. And to your point, yeah, that's how you really learn.
Well, I think that's a good example too because we have different attributes, right? You might be big and strong. You got these young guys that are benching 1,000,000 pounds, or you have speed, right? You have different attributes and assets, and that's kind of one thing I talk about as well. I'm like, all right, I want you to take the strength out of it and just be technical, super technical, and then I want you to do this in slow motion. So like the person knows it's coming. Can you still do it? So you take out those attributes, but like I said, we're doing it in practice so that way, you go to a competition or you're in an MMA match or whatever. Then do everything. Now I'm being technical. I'm going to throw my strength and my speed, everything, all of my attributes in there. So like I said, just using your teammates and practice instead of trying to win practice. Nobody cares. Another good example I tell guys, like you said, like lifting, if you go to the weight room and you just wander around in there and I'm going to pick up stuff and do this. If you go in there with a plan, like I'm going to do my bench today. I got my bench and I got my squat. You go in there with a list of things that you're going to do to improve on. It's the same thing when you're training. If you and I start sparring, I have a list of things I want to do to improve on instead of just you're going to beat me up, I'm going to beat you up.
Absolutely,
Right.
absolutely, yeah. All right. Any closing thoughts on anything else to remember if you hit the ground during a ground fight?
Don't be on the ground. No, I think for people that don't do martial arts, there's all sorts of different styles of martial arts. Go try something.
Hmm.
You might be a grappler, you might be a striker, but go there's different, and within that there's different schools doing different things. So I've talked to people that have had a bad martial arts experience and like give someplace else a try it out. But I think
Hmm.
especially for when it comes to self defense, hopefully you
Hmm.
never have to use it, but
Hmm.
being able to be confident and do what you need to do is important. So,
All right. Sounds good. All right. Well, thanks for joining us today.
yeah,
And
sure.
remember, be safe, be smart, be street smart. Double punch. Ready? Rah!